So, last time we had talked, you're kind of dealing with some issues and stuff. So, how's everything going?
It's okay. It's, it's just kind of black. It's okay.
So, kind of stressed out, a lot of things going on, a lot of issues in your life, right?
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Well, one of the issues I wanted to talk to you about today was you had mentioned your grades and how well you're kind of doing in that. So, how are you doing?
Not at all. I'm really not doing good.
So, when you say not doing well, what do you mean?
Like C's and D's, and if I'm lucky, a B, but really not doing too well with grades.
So, is the workload just heavy, or is it hard, or is it a combination of both? The teachers?
It's just everything. Like sometimes I don't feel like doing the work, but sometimes I feel like doing the work. Or sometimes it's just too hard for me, or I just don't feel like it.
So when your grades are slipping, how long has it been slipping? Has it been just recently, or has
Well,
it?
since I went to high school.
So the transition from middle school to high school has been a little bit difficult.
Yes.
So what do you think are some ways for you to get back on track? Because in middle school you were doing really well. You had told me about your grades. In high school with the jump, it's become a little difficult for you.
I don't know. Maybe a tutor.
A tutor. Is there something that you've discussed it with your dad or your mom as far as your grades?
I don't told them.
But I mean, eventually they're going to see and they're going to know that you need to get with the program or figure out ways to kind of help you and bolster your grades up a little bit.
Yeah. But I don't know what to do with my grades. Maybe get a tutor after night school or something. I have no idea.
What specific subject are you having trouble with?
Geometry, science, and consumer math.
Okay. And what is it specifically that are you just not getting the concepts? Are you just not doing the work?
It's too fast of work for me. It's too fast, and I just can't keep up with the pace. It's just the pace.
So if the pace were to slow down a little bit, then it'd probably be a little easier, correct?
It may be a lot easier.
One of the things I'd probably suggest you doing is probably talking to your teachers and see if there's something that you could do after school, or maybe something like extra credit work, or maybe possibly a tutor to help you with some of the math stuff. What do you think about those ideas?
That's a good idea. I'll try to do that. I'll start doing that when school starts Monday.
So I think maybe letting your parents, let them know the struggles that you're having. Maybe you don't communicate with them. Maybe you don't communicate with them as far as what's going on in school. Maybe you just kind of like, oh, here's my grades, but they don't really understand the struggle that you have.
No,
And I think that's something that I think a good way to let them help you is to let them know too. So I think I would recommend you possibly getting a tutor, letting your parents know about things, and possibly talking to your teachers about things and seeing how that goes, and maybe that can open up some ways for you to better your grade.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think that's actually a really good idea to get a tutor or do night school, but I'm gonna try. I'll try to get one.
But at the same time, sometimes we can do all those avenues are good ways, but at the end of the day, I feel that you're going to have to make a better initiative or push to try to get better grades too. It's just not all your tutor or your parents and your teacher. You have to be willing to want to change to make better grades. Is that can you understand that point? Now, on the last session that we had, you had talked about some relationships with your friends. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how's that's going?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, I guess. I mean, I just don't talk to them as much anymore.
When you're saying not talk to them, is it because you're too busy or because they went to other schools?
It's
Or
'cause I'm too busy, and I'm too busy to talk to them.
So have you made new friends by being in high school?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple friends that I've made, but yeah, I mean, 4 or 5, but not a lot.
Now, is there other friends, like say maybe neighborhood friends or friends at church that you could possibly get involved with, or people that you know?
I don't go to church.
What about friends of like cousins or family friends or anything like that? You know anybody like that, or?
I don't talk to my family a lot because my mom and dad, they don't like their family.
So you pretty much stay to yourself, or you just don't like interacting with people, or what?
I mean, I like interacting with people that are like fun to talk to and have stuff in common with me. Just sometimes, but I just don't feel like it.
So you don't like to socialize with people. You don't like to interact with people.
I like to interact with people. It's just sometimes like I just don't like to talk at times. I like to interact. It's just at times I don't feel like talking.
So you're just kind of quiet.
Mm.
Why have you always been this quiet? Have you always been this quiet?
Yeah, I'm pretty quiet. It's just that it's like I like to socialize, it's just that I don't like to socialize with certain people.
What about people at school? It's the same way?
Like, shit, like,
Now, what I recommend for you being able to open up is maybe get into some groups. I know you don't go to church, but maybe there's some other type of clubs that you could do that can maybe get you involved. Maybe some things that can have social interaction with some kids at your age group. Is that something that you have thought about, or something that you've never really thought about?
I've never really thought about that.
And I know you don't go to church, but maybe going to church with a friend of yours, maybe that's possible. Maybe you can start hanging around kids that are around your own age. Is that something that seems like you could do, or is that not something that you want to do?
I mean, I'll try, I guess. I mean, but there's just a lot of people there. At Trinity, there's a lot of people, so they're kind of awkward for me.
So having a big church makes you feel kind of like not as important, or you feel like you just get lost with them being so many kids, correct?
I mean, I'm okay with a couple of kids, but not a lot of people.
Do you have a best friend?
No,
Is there someone that you are able to talk to about things?
not really.
Well, I recommend you being able to get into some groups. I think that would be beneficial to you as far as interacting with people and interacting with people your own age. And I also think that maybe getting into some type of maybe sports program or something like that to show you can interact with people. What do you think about that scenario?
I'll try it, and if it doesn't go well, then I'll just stop. But I'll think about playing sports again.
One of the instances you talked about last time was possibly getting a job here. I think that you said your dad knows a friend of his that could possibly get you a job. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's just a small job at a fast food place. I don't know. I mean, it'll go just to get some money. Just to have some extra money to have in case something happens. But yeah, it's just a small job.
So is this something that you would want to do, or something that you're forced to do, or something that...
Something I want to do, just to be able to do something.
Is this the only job opportunity or job situation that you see that you can do?
Yeah, because a lot of places don't hire too young.
So what job is it?
Just a fast food place.
Okay. Like a Chick-fil-A or
Yeah,
McDonald's?
Chick-fil-A,
Okay.
McDonald's.
Yeah, because I know they hire like pretty early. If I'm not mistaken. Now, how many hours would you work?
I have no idea. A day?
Yeah, how many hours a day? Like 3 or 4?
3 to 4, 5, around that area.
Okay, how many days a week? Because I know you have school and sports.
3 days a week. I think.
Maybe 3 days a
3
week?
days.
Okay. So, do you think this job would be really good for you, or do you think this is just something that would be too much for you to handle?
No, I think it'll help out because then I'll be able to just like cut stuff off.
So, with this job, do you see it being something temporary or something long term, or?
Sorry, possibly temporary. Possibly temporary, but if I like it a lot, I'll probably stay there for a bit.
I recommend you maybe pursuing this job. I think it could help you out. Maybe having the connection that your dad has with a manager there, I think it would help out. But you have to be careful balancing everything out. Does that make sense?
Don't forget about school.
Well, not just school, but other things in your life that may be difficult with everything that's involved. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's really nothing else I have to say, but yeah, that's pretty much. You're right about that. I mean, I should.
Do you think it would be too much for you?
I can handle it.
Okay. Now, on the last topic that we were going to talk about last week was how your relationship with God and how that's going. How is that going?
I mean, it's just in person, everyday life thing with God. I mean, I don't go to church. I told you I don't go to church, but I talk about it or I think about it, and I have a Bible in my room, but I read it occasionally.
So you're struggling with your spirituality with God.
I just don't know if I can trust it, because after all this stuff that's happening, how can you let it happen and all this stuff that's happening?
In the Bible, it talks about some things about how we don't understand why things happen, but God has a purpose and a reason for everything, no matter how hard they are. Do you think not going to church is hurting you?
I honestly have no idea. If it helps me, I'll go, because I'll take anything that'll help me.
What about reading your Bible? Do you think that could help too?
Yeah, I've read the Bible. I've been reading the Bible for like the past month, and it's pretty good.
But when you're reading the Bible, are you really getting into its word, trying to understand what the meaning is?
I'm trying to understand the meaning. It's kind of hard because I don't have one of the Bibles for now, like for kids that don't understand all the words. I have like a really old Bible, so it's kind of hard for me to understand.
So maybe getting at a Bible bookstore, maybe getting a Bible that has today's version of interpretation of what it means would help, would be beneficial. Do your parents go to church?
They don't go to church. They work.
Is there somebody you could go to church with? Friends.
Maybe a cousin, a friend. I have no idea. I would have to ask them. I don't really know if they go to church.
I think trying to pray every day and trying to get in His Word will help you. I think not doing that can only make it worse. Even though everything that you're battling may seem difficult, I think having that relationship with God is important for you to have. And growing that relationship with God. What do you think?
I agree with you.
You think maybe getting to church more will help?
I understand, yes. No problem.
And I recommend possibly you getting a study Bible. I recommend maybe reading the Bible more and understanding His Word and trying to get what He's trying to mean, and then possibly getting with friends that might go to church, maybe schoolmates or friends that you know, I think that would help out too as well. What do you think?
Yeah, it'll help all. I mean, I believe whatever you say would help me.
Okay, well, we'll talk about these issues again next time, next week. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.